Our message tonight is titled, Thank God for Smaller Marcies. Thank God for smaller marcies. You meant well, and there's nothing wrong you have done. You didn't deserve what you're going through. So far, you've remained faithful. You've refused to give up. You're convicted it's the right thing to do. It looks unreasonable in the eyes of man and to the world. But God is saying, keep moving. You're tired. You're weak. You're worn. And all you want is to wake up one fine morning and find the Lord has turned your night into day. That is everyone's desire. You can be so lost in the ultimate victory and lose sight of the smaller victories that should be cheering you up along the way. And I know you want it so badly until you miss to see the hand of God in the process of things. A statement I love making. Seeming victory belongs with the devil, but ultimate victory belongs with God. Seeming victory belongs with the devil, but ultimate victory belongs with God. Let me pray once again. Thank you, Lord. Breathe life into this message. Let it speak to us according to our circumstances. May we be encouraged, lift our spirits to keep fighting until we have ultimate victory, because this is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. There's been a drought for how many years in Elijah's time? 3.5? There's been a drought. Find that story in the book Patriarchs and Prophets. And you love the description Ellen White makes on how the land looked like during the 3.5 years. 3.5 years is so long to have a drought. So long. And I remember after the contest on Mount Carmel, Elijah had to kill the prophets of Baal. Is it? And in verse 41, 1 Kings chapter 18, then Elijah said to Ahab, go up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain. It's been a long time experiencing droughts. Now saying, go up, eat and drink, because me, Elijah the prophet, have heard the sound of abundance of what? Rain. There's rain coming. Friends, I know it's tough in whatever you're going through, but there is a sound of abundance of rain. I know it's tough. So Ahab went up to eat and drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel. Then he bowed down on the ground and put his face between his knees. Must have done this. Is it like this? I don't know what he did. Was all his knees on the ground? What? Or he was, I don't know, whatever it was. But what I know is that his face was between his knees. And said to his servant, go up now, look toward the sea. So he went up and looked and said, there is nothing. And 7 times he said, go again. I like it. Because he told his servant, go, look toward the sea. And he went the first time. And he came back and said, I have seen nothing. He said, go again. And he went out again. Toward the sea he looked. And he came back and reported, there was nothing. He said, go again. The 3rd time, he went, looked toward the sea, and he came back, reported, I see nothing, Elijah. Elijah said the 4th time, go. And the man went. When the man of God speaks, he speaks with certainty. Say, go again. The 4th time. And his servant went, looked toward the sea. He didn't see anything. Came back and said, man of God, there's nothing. 5th time. 6th time. He came back. He reported, I see nothing. Then it came to pass the 7th time that he said, when he came back the 7th time, he said, there's a cloud as small as a man's hand rising out of the sea. So he said, go up, say to Ahab, prepare your chariot and go down before the rain stops you. So when he went the 7th time, he came back and reported, I see a cloud rising the size of a man's hand. Which man has the biggest hand here? Must have been something like this. Rising. This is very little. No, he was to face toward the what? The sea. My question is, did the cloud rise the 7th time, or it was there from the first time? What are you thinking? Was the cloud there the first time, or it was just rising the 7th time? The cloud was there from the first time. The problem was the drought had ravaged the land so badly that all they wanted was rain and not a cloud. All they wanted was what? Rain. They wanted rain so badly that they were not interested in the process of how rain comes. It doesn't just drop. I thought we check the clouds and we say, it's going to do what? To rain. So he went the first time, he didn't see anything because in his mind he wants rain and nothing else. Because he's heard Elijah tell Ahab that I hear the sound of abundance of rain. So what his eyes are focused on is the real rain, not how the rain is processed. And Elijah keeps telling, go back until you see it. And many times we are in tough situations. The Lord is processing your victory. You are unable to see the small masses the size of a man's hand. All you're focused on is the rain. Hey. I pray that this daughter of God will forgive me, but the Spirit tells me to use my experience. I don't plan to share people's stories. They pop out in the middle of a sermon. So I believe it's Spirit-led. I never plan. She calls me, she says, I have been fasting. My husband left the house a week ago. So I started fasting. And when I fasted, on day 3, is that what she said? I can't remember. But just pick what is important in the story. She says she dreamt me, Pastor Mukuru, delivering her and her husband. And then she woke up. And in the morning, the husband called her. and asked her if she can send him fare so that he comes. Don't say amen too fast. So she told the husband she's not sending. So she's asking me, Pastor, he doesn't work. I fund his life, but he uses my money to fund a lifestyle with women. So her parents have told her, let him learn his lesson. I've not responded to that. She could be watching, but probably this could be her response. If you're not ready for God's answer, don't ask. If you're not ready for God's response for the prayer you've made, never ask. Because if you were praying because he disappeared, and you dream in the night, and in the morning he calls you, send me fare, I come. But your pride tells you, I fund his life. If I give him fare to come, he might go again, and that keeps hurting her. That is how the world reasons. You can only say that if it was not your husband, it was your boyfriend. But when it is your husband or your child, it doesn't matter how many times you keep repeating the same thing and you don't see a change, because you're bent, hell-bent to save them. How many times do we pay school fees and our children don't do exams? How many times have you paid school fees at the university and he didn't sit? How many times? How many parents have funded education at the university and then they say, 4 years, when are you graduating? They say graduation is coming in November. And then he disappears, only to learn he dropped out in year 2. But you've been paying school fee. Tell me who has disowned their children because they've done that. Tell me. No one disowns their children. But why is it easy to disown a husband? I told you the other day, it's a subject one day we'll find time to discuss. Given a choice between your son and your husband, pick your husband. Yeah, you're still saying, Remind me, on Sabbath there is no material, because 10 days ends on Friday. So remind me, we discussed that Sabbath afternoon. I've said it twice and you're still reluctant. If you're not ready for the blessing you have prayed for, just don't ask. Because if your husband disappears and you pray and he calls and says, sends me fare, I come. So what were you praying for? Nakuuliza, what were you praying for? The fact that he has called and asked for fare to come is a cloud the size of a man's hand. So he disappeared for months or years. And then he calls you and he says, I've sent you school fee. And then you realize he's only sent school fees, half school fee for one child, and you have 5. And then you rant and say, Ata angetuma. Now why, if he couldn't send all the school fees, so what was the point of him sending? That half school fee for one child is a cloud the size of a man's hand. Because sooner or later, it is going to rain. And at times the Lord is just testing you to see if you're ready for what you asked. At times we ask mixed with our asks. It's called asks. Our asks is mixed with pride. Such that you want the answer the way you want it. You want God to respond the way you want. You want to define how the response comes. I'm repeating, if you're not ready for what you asked for, don't even attempt to ask. And so there are many things God has done in our life, despite the hardships we are going through. You can sit clearly and say, for real, I'm suffering. My husband has been away for too long, or this and this has been happening. But the truth is, I am still alive. The truth is, I was left with children, but they're still going to school. The truth is, he left, but I have made progress in this and this manner. You can actually count your what? Your blessings while they were away. That is the truth. But you see, you're so focused on him coming. And at times they come after 6 years, 7 years, 5 years, 3 years. They come and then they sit there in your house for 1 month and you say, oh God of heaven, Jehovah, you have answered my prayer. And that is your testimony for the next 4 Sabbaths. And then Sabbath 4, Sunday morning, he disappears. Then you begin to question God. Did you really answer my prayer? Why then did you have to bring him back if you knew he was not going to stay? The Lord is showing you this is a cloud the size of a man's hand. It's like you have heard the sound of abundance of rain. It is evidence there is rain coming. I think there are many things we need to ask God for forgiveness. He's come through. But we have murmured and complained. I know you will bring all the thoughts that you have out there. What if he's coming to take advantage of me? This war we fight is a do or die. We have no ish. Akuna. And we depend on God for victory. If they had intentions of using us, taking advantage, the Lord will turn it to glorify his name. For every little mercy you see, thank God. The Lord loves to hear us giving him thanks. Now, if you can't thank him for the little movie he has made, will you really thank him when he finally does it? I'm asking you, will you be able to? It's just like saying, if you cannot tithe 200, will you tithe 2 million? If tithing 200 is a struggle, just 20 shillings, will you tithe 200,000? Because you can work out clearly, 200, tithe 20. 20 is enough for 2 tomatoes. Will you tithe 200,000? Because that's almost roofing for a house. Let us learn to thank God for smaller mercies. And your spiritual antennae should be so up to notice that this is actually God's hand. This is not man's hand. This is God's hand. When I was doing the office here in Nairobi, it's a move I made by faith. Because I felt my services were needed more out here. Across the board, not just Adventists. So, the Spirit impressed upon me. I had some savings. Because I'm trying to complete my mama's house. So I have some savings that I was to use it to complete. But one time after prayer in the morning, it just flashed in my head. Take those savings. Set up a local presence in Nairobi. From that office, you will get your money back to complete your mama's house. It's a move I made by faith. And even how I got the office, I didn't search. The Holy Spirit led me to. I think it's only Abel who's been to my office. I think it's only Abel. It's a nice office. I also didn't expect to get it. I also didn't expect. Our charges are just to keep the Mission Doors office open. We don't charge for profit. We charge to keep the mission door open. And I remember I could only afford, because I was told I do a deposit for 2 months and 1 month rent. Then I said I'll do 2 months and 2 months rent, so that I'm not doing crisis management. And the month I'm beginning is when I'm trying to think, where do I get rent? I didn't want that. So I cleared all my savings. I did, those are now 4 months, is it? 2 months deposit, 2 months rent. And then I furnished the office nicely. It's a nice place. You'll come, you'll visit. It's a nice place. Everyone who walks in says, hey, Pastor, are you being a Luo here or what? You say, I still have my Luo instincts. Even though I'm married in Kisii, I still have my Luo bits inside. And the rest of the monies I used to fund other expenditures. I'm using my savings. And I told God, this money can't pay rent in January. And we've just opened the office. So it's a new office. That was in November. It's a new office. I don't know when it will generate money to even pay 1 month's rent. That day, it was my week 1 in the office. I visited with a friend of mine. Week 1 in the office. And I was fasting that day. I think it was on a Wednesday. And she had guests. Apparently her friend from the US. And I was traveling on Thursday night. So Thursday I came to the office and I was going back to the house to pick my stuff and go back to Kisumu. So that Thursday, she called me and told me, my friend wants to see you before you go. Says, I've not even shaken her hand, and the way everyone in the US know Pastor Mukoro. So I must shake her hand and also go and say I met her. So I got into the house, I packed my stuff, and then I knelt down to pray before I took supper. And I told God, I'm clearing the first week. How these doors will be kept open is solely in your hands. I have no idea. And I have an office admin I must pay. There's no one you'll employ and tell them business has not started making money, so bear with me. No, you can't. So I said, how I'll pay my office admin, provided I keep the door open and pay the office admin. Me, you know how I live. Because me, I don't believe I survive. I don't survive in this world. When God dies, then I'll begin to survive. But for as long as he still liveth, no child of God survives. We live. So I said, God, you know me, how I live. We've lived with you for the last 17 years. So I haven't died yet. And then they come in. And we greet each other. And she tells me, you know what, Pastor Liz? I know. I don't want to call names. I know. So that my friend. I know she's your friend, but you'll be surprised I'm more of a friend to you than her. And I said, how? He said, I watch you on YouTube every other day. So where are you going to? I said, no, I'm catching a bus at 10:30. So why couldn't you take a flight? I said, no, when you start business, you don't begin with flights. How do you begin business with flights? He said, flights will come later on. And he said, okay. So I'm explaining why I can't take a flight. And I'm telling her, the savings I had, I have paid rent. I have furnished the office. So I don't think I have what I can use for flights, but I have what I can use for bars. And then she says, okay, then how much is your rent? And I looked at her. Oh, you're meeting someone for the first time. And I told her, I did 2 months deposit, 2 months rent. A month's rent is 35,000. So I did 140. And then she told me, I'm sorry, I know I'm Kenyan, but as we live in the US, we have lost the language of Kenyan shillings. How much dollars are those? So I worked out very fast dollars. I took a calculator, phone, and she says, allow me do your 2 months rent, January and February. And I told God, I hear the sound of abundance of rain. On my first week in the office, someone is already covered January, February. It is a cloud the size of a man's hand. That office will stay open because rain is coming. I pray you will be sensitive enough to know this is God. And as you lament, also thank Him. He says, do not be anxious for anything, but by prayer, by supplication, and thanksgiving. Make your requests known to who? He loves to hear us thanking Him. Thank Him you didn't die. I mean, how many women are in a mental facility for a marriage that didn't work? How many women? How many men have committed suicide for a marriage that didn't work? But you're still sane. People will ask you, why is it you don't have a sense of fashion? You know, there are struggles we go through. When you hear someone comment, you look at them twice and say, God forgive her, for she does not know what she's doing. You're in a serious battle. You cannot even take notice of the fact that you're losing weight. People are telling you you're losing weight, but you just can't notice because you're fine. I mean, you're so peaceful inside. The outside is being worn out, but the inside, the Lord keeps renewing it every day. You're so strong inside. And by the way, who goes to the battlefield from the salon? Who? Have you seen KDF soldiers, women, with makeup? I have a friend here who works with KDF. She's there. She's a military person. I love that girl. She will tell you they don't go to the battlefield with makeup. Because you're in the they say the only thing they apply are those paint. Is it? Where is she? She's somewhere there. The only thing they apply is what? Is paint. Not makeup. But you're in deep trouble. You don't want to share with anyone. You want to cover it with makeup so that you look good. In the battlefield, there's no time to even figure out there's a manicure. Because you're fighting. The outside looks so rugged, but our spirit, the Lord renews every other time. We shall look good in due season. Huh? I used to weigh 48. At least today I'm 63. My blood levels had gone down to 5. Today I have all the blood I need. And I look back and tell God, I would have been in Madare, but no, I am in Eden Spring. I would have been dead, but I'm still walking. I would have been disoriented in life, but I am living my purpose. Because your ministry is born where you have been broken. And your testimony is found where you have been restored. So the Lord doesn't just allow us to be broken. Probably there's a ministry that He wants you to take care of. So let's learn to give thanks to God for the little mercies even though the situation suggests otherwise. We didn't take chicken, but there's something on the table. I don't know how many times I took porridge, white porridge with my children because there was not enough unga to do ugali. And we took porridge without sugar. I think for years my children learned to do a drink without sugar. Their taste buds got used to. And that is our supper. And there's a way I raised my children that let's thank God for it was the house that we would do worship, then take our uji and then sleep. And we would story and laugh our hearts out. Because we knew God was in control. I tell you, the next day when we get unga, we will cook ugali, but we will do skuma wiki that doesn't have oil. It only has salt. For us, that was a small cloud the size of a man's hand. I had every reason to complain. I didn't know God was squeezing me. And today, what came out of the squeezing is a company that I run. A ministry that I run. And it's on that day I sat. I remember when I had my third born. These things make me emotional, but today I've learned to be strong. I'd just come from town. I had my third born, Sokoro. And when I entered our bedroom, I found him sleeping on the bed. And I didn't have any money. He was on napkin. You know napkin? Not diapers, napkin. And Wakungu had not burned the paper bags. You remember the paper bags are black? And I think my mother had done a hole down there too. See the way paper bag is like this? So I had done a hole here and a hole here. So the legs went in, it was pulled up and tied. And I think I locked the door and I sobbed. I cried. And when I was done, I placed my hands on the boy and I said, it will never happen again. No one must provide for me. No one shall provide for me. No one will provide for me. I am my own rescue. Me and God, there's nothing the two of us cannot do. Because life has to move forward. Life has to move forward. It didn't stop me from having more kids. There are 3 kids after Sokoro. In fact, those after Sokoro are twins. Then after twins, we have the last one, who's 1 year, 6 months. And I keep telling my husband, if it comes, no problem. I'm not afraid.